Well, good evening, everyone. This is Tom here. Welcome to Cap Crew Wednesday. Hope everybody's having a good week so far on this hump day here in August. This is, I think, the last Wednesday of August. So we're heading into this fall months pretty soon. So let's just say hello to everybody. Ronald Renew was the first one in here. Welcome, Ronald. Dwight Curley was next. How you doing, Dwight? Then Grandpa Rails came in. How you doing, JD? Then we have Stormy Sky Rail Productions. Steve's here. How you doing, Steve? Welcome. Ray Burleson's here for a little while. He's been busy working and stuff and just got back from a trip, so he's going to be in and out maybe. Welcome, Ray. And then John from Schuylkill Valley. How you doing, John? Welcome. And then we got Papa John here. How you doing? Welcome. And then we got rail artist here, Mike, I guess it is. How you doing, Mike? Welcome. Glad to see you in here. See if anybody else showed up in the meantime. Steve 87 PSAP. Hey, Steve, welcome. How you doing? That's everybody so far. I'm sure more people will drop in as the evening progresses. Hey, Pedro, welcome. How you doing? Glad to see you in here tonight. So, been busy working here and there on things and projects and stuff. And I 3D printed a windmill, and I put a motor in to put a motor in to make the windmill spin. I turned it on and it spun like really fast. So I did some research on how to make it go slow. And the first guy said, get a 10 ohm resistor and put that in line with the plus side of the motor. That didn't do anything. So I put a bigger resistor on, and then it wouldn't even move. So I don't know what's going on with that. So then I did more research, and then Sparky told me to get a variable resistor, and I looked at them, and then I found what's called a PET 10 toe meter. And it looks like, let me make myself big here. This is a PET toe 10 meter, and this is a 5K one. I got a whole kit here. It goes from 1K to 1M. You got a 500K, then you got a 1M. And you just need to use 2 of these pins to solder onto, and then this turns, and then you can regulate the speed. Nope, didn't work. Even these didn't work. I put that on, and I turn it down, and it's still running fast. I turn it down slower, and then I turn it, and then it goes off. And I can't get it in between the off and the higher speed. This doesn't work. So Then I saw a motor speed controller. It has 2 inputs and 2 outputs. Power in one side and to the motor, the other side. And it has a dial on it that looks like these dials. Okay. Hook that up, put it on, same thing. It goes fast, but it won't go slow enough. I want the fan to go just a little, not real fast, just slow, just keep moving. So, yeah, well, I don't know, Steve. How do you make a mechanical windmill spin, right? So I then came up with this circuit. It's going to use a MOSFET and then a 10K potentiometer. And this is the circuit I came up with. Top is a MOSFET, and then the bottom is a potentiometer. And you just have to wire it up the right way. And then you got 2 wires going to the motor and 2 wires coming from your power supply. And that works. Now, in my circuit, I have the 2 wires coming from the motor going down to where it plugs into the power source. And I put a buckboard in there, and I changed the voltage down to 3.5 volts. So the DC motor I have is a DC 3 volt to 12 volt, 2500, 25, is it 2500? Yeah, 2500 RPMs. That's the maximum it goes. Small gear on a motor, large gear on windmill side. How's the thing about that, Steve? Does the motor operate at slow speeds? I have it cranked down as far as I can go without it going off, but that still is too fast for my liking. So with the MOSFET, that stands for metal oxidized semiconductor field effect transistor. That's with I'm frozen. Oh, I was just frozen there for a few seconds. It's a metal oxidized semiconductor field effect transistor. That's what a MOSFET is. And it's the main advantage of a MOSFET is that it requires almost no input current to control the load under a steady state or low frequency conditions, especially compared to bipolar junction transistors, which are BJTs. However, at high frequencies or when switching rapidly, a MOSFET may require significant current to charge and discharge its gate capacitance. So that's what the MOSFET is. And then the potentiometer are commonly used to control electrical devices, such as volume controls on audio equipment. It's also used in speed control of fans. Potentiometers are operated by a mechanical mechanism, can be used as position transducers, for example, in a joystick. Potentiometers are rarely used to directly control significant power, more than a watt, since the power dissipated in the potentiometer would be compatible to the power in the controlled load. So that's my understanding of the MOSFET and the potentiometer. So Steve, no, I believe it can run slow, but if there's a motor out there that's 12 volt DC and it operates in slow, I would like to know what it is, because the one I got, I was just looking for something that would run between 3 and 12 volts so I can put it on my bus lines that I already have up there. And I didn't, so I had to run another wire to an outlet, and that comes on and off automatically at a certain time of the day, and the fan's running. So if we go to this view again here, and I bring up the farm scene, you can see the fan is spinning rapidly. You can't even see the blades. So I like to get the blades where you can almost see them. I thought about painting every other one a color, but it's moving too fast. That's the slowest I can get it. So that's the windmill. I put it up there in the farm, has a ladder going up there, and the vanes on the back. So that's what that's going on. So Amazon shipped out the MOSFET, and I got some heat shrink to go with the MOSFET, so that connects to the heat shrink so that you don't burn it out. So if you want to go to gears, I would go to RC Car Hobby Shop. They understand the reduction better than most model railroad would do, or get a slower speed motor. Okay, Steve. Well, RC Car Hobby Shop. Okay. Well, I think my hobby shop that I go to has RC cars in there. They might know. I'll check with them. But I would like to see if they have a slower motor. It'd just be a lot easier to do that. So Amazon shipped it out, but then they shipped it out via U.S. Post Office. So it's supposed to be here tomorrow, and we'll see if that happens. So, but that's what's going on with the windmill. It was an easy 3D print. I 3D printed it on my A1 Mini, all the parts. Everything came out nice and clean. Just had to paint a couple of parts because I didn't want them all white, because that's the color of the filament I have in my A1 Mini over there. So it works really good. And I printed some stuff on the A1 today that I was playing around with too. So I did try running the subway trains the other day, and with the camera on it, but it kept on hitting something, and I said I got to get a smaller camera for the train. So I found a smaller camera. It came today, and what's nice about this camera is, okay, thanks, John. I'll look at that. So I ordered it, and it came in today. And this cam, I had a small cam, and it was on my flat car, and it was up a little bit high, but it didn't bother running around all the other layouts. Hey, James, welcome. So what happened was, in the subway system, some of the fans are close to the track, and that's what it was hitting. So I tried to get a smaller camera, and in doing so, this camera is smaller, but not small enough. But I like it better because this camera, and I'll show you this here in a second. I'll make myself bigger again. This is the camera on the flat car. And it has a small SD card in it. And when it records in MP4, which is good because then I can copy the file off and upload it to YouTube a lot easier than I could with the other cam that I had, because that cam put it in an H2Z format, which you need VLC media player to view it, and that wasn't working. And I said, this is a lot better. I can use this on some of the other trains. Hey, Kyle, welcome. How you doing? Glad to see you in here. So it's a little lower than the other camera, but it still hits the fans. So maybe I might readjust the fans a little, because the subway system trains don't hit the fans because they run around there before without hitting the fans. So, but the camera is a little bit wider and bigger, and it was hitting the fans. So it was causing derailments and stuff like that. So this one here, I rolled it past the first fan on the track from the station where the train starts out at, and it hit the fan. So it just missed it by like 1/4 of an inch. So I might be able to move them up. Is this for a cab view? Yeah. Yeah, James, that's right. So I said, okay, why don't I just run it on the inside track, because all the fans are on the outside track. There's certain sections where the inside track have room, but I put all the fans on the outside track because there's a lot more room from the track to the wall on most of the outside tracks for the walls on the outside track. So it was so I'm going to charge this overnight, and then I'm going to run this in there and see how it goes around, and we'll see what kind of video I get out of it. So I'm hoping that works, and we'll see. So that'll be tomorrow's test to try that out. So speaking of the subway system, all the panels and all of the tunnel pieces are up now. It's completely enclosed. All four sides are closed, and all I'm doing is ironing out some minor issues and stuff like that. Like this. Welcome, Tammy and Ray. Thanks for stopping in. Like where I have the men working, the hobos and the homeless people, it's not bright enough there. So I said, what I need is some kind of light in there. So I got a bunch of LEDs and strung them together and turned them on and tried to shine them down, and they weren't bright enough. So I said, I see all these under the counter LEDs, and they have um, wired ones and, you know, cordless ones. They have battery ones. I don't want battery kind. Change the batteries all the time. So I was looking for something that plugged in to USB, and then that would work. I can just plug that in to some kind of power source, and boom, the lights, I can turn them on and off at will. So the first ones I ordered from Amazon, they came and they were about an inch wide, and they had a couple of different settings on it and stuff like that. And they had a toggle switch on, off, and auto. And I bought these things for them. You got two wires coming out, and there's a USB connector right there. So you plug your USB into here, you plug this into a power source, and then you got power, right? Well, I hooked it up to a 12-volt power supply, plugged this in, and the light came on, but when I unplugged the power supply and left the switch to the on position and plugged it back in, it didn't come on. So I switched it over to auto, thinking that would do it. That didn't work. So back to Amazon they went, and I got a different type. And what I got was, and these are a lot thinner. So this is the new light that I'm putting in there. And on the cable, there's a little push button here. Hard to see with the glare, but that's a push button on there, and that turns it on or off. And I turn that on or off, plug this in to this guy like so, and then this gets connected to the 12-volt power bus line that I'm going to run for this, and then it can come on automatically and go off automatically, and then that'll light up those areas, so they'll be able to be better seen on the cameras. So I got one of the lights installed and temporarily plugged in. Let me bring me back up again here on this here view. It's pretty bright in there now, and you can almost see the color of the guys. The only problem I have here is with this camera. I don't know what these red dots are and these yellow squares around these objects here. So I sent an email off to the support company that makes these cameras. That's SV3C, and that's the name of the cameras. And so I don't know what's causing that to happen. I went through all the settings. I can't find anything that I know of that will do that. So yeah, all the graffiti walls are up and everything. And so the light is up above. You can see a little glare there from the light. That's lighting up this whole corner here. So, and that'll go on and take care of that. Thanks, JD. Let's hit that like button, people. Doesn't cost anything. So that's that. And then over on this one, like here's the hobo scene, and over here the homeless scene. Got two fires going there. You guys have seen this before. And I'm going to put lights up on both sides here, and that'll light up this corner so that we'll be able to see that scene a lot better. So that's tomorrow's project, to get them lights up and get that whole setup done. And also tomorrow is running the camera on the flat part and getting a good shot of the tunnel as it goes around. So that's that. So yeah, so once I get these connected to the 12-volt power supply, then I can plug it into a smart plug, and then I can schedule it to come on and off at whatever time I want it to. So that'll make it a lot easier to see the stuff. So while I was working on getting the subway system completed, I was also working on another project called the DDE project. And that's to make all your, it's a dynamic dual exhaust. That's what DDE stands for. And I had to take each engine down off the layout and set them up. And last week I told you guys I had problems with some engines and stuff like that. And it wasn't the engines. It ended up being the voltage on this track here. The power cab wasn't putting out enough volts to make the horn play. So this device I have off to my left here, right there, that shows you the volts and the amps. And so it was only giving me like 11.5 volts, which isn't enough. I went in the workbench and I was getting a similar result. So I'm going, what's going on? So I said, let me change. And I had bought coil cables for the power cap because a guy in a video I watched, he used coil cables because he likes coil cables better than he does flat cables. And he had the part number in there and went to Amazon, ordered them, and comes on and it works, but not enough power comes out of that cord for some reason. I don't know why. So I went to my box of flat cables. Hey, Todd, welcome. How you doing? Thanks for stopping in. So I went to my box of flat cable box, and I found a flat cable. I went to my workbench and plugged it into the power cab, and power came up, and I had 14 volts. So I ordered 2 flat cables for the power cabs from Plant Hobbies, and they came the other day, plugged them in, and now I'm getting 14 volts DCC on both power cabs. So the reason I figured this out was I took another engine off of the tracks that was working perfectly fine and put it on this track when I was using the coil cable, and it wouldn't play the sound either. And I says, no, I don't have decoder and speaker problems. No. I turned on my system, my main system, I turned that on, and I put the engine that I was really having trouble with, and I put that on a track, reset the CVs that Soundtrack Support told me to change, try to get it to work back to what I wanted it to be, and boom, it worked perfect. So then I knew it was a voltage problem because I always get 14 volts on my main NCE system. So once I got this showing up as 14 volts, then I started getting everything done. So got all the engines done, and I have two engines that I have problems with. One was this here engine. Let me make myself big again. Okay, this is an Catherine Blue Box Northern Southern 3215 engine, and this is part of a 3-engine consist, and I always did the rear engine first when I was doing the consist to get the settings set up. And this one didn't hear the engine running. What the heck's going on? And then I changed CV19 to make it a 0 to take it out of the consist. I addressed the power cab with that address. Hey, Randall, welcome. I set the address in the power cab to 3215, and it ran smooth as great, no sound. I'm going, what the heck's going on? So I opened it up, and I have scale systems, a scale sound scale systems speakers in that engine. There's 2 of them in there, and they're wired up in series. And I talked to Soundtracks about it, and they said, you know, check the wiring and this and that. And I emailed JT Burke. He's the guy at Scale Sound Systems, and didn't hear back from. Then I heard back from him the next day, and he said try doing these things. And I said okay, I'll give that a try. But then when I opened up the engine, I checked all the wires and everything was fine. But the front speaker is in a baffle, and it's mounted upside down because the baffle screws to the frame, and that keeps the speaker in place so it doesn't hit the wheel chuck. So so I looked underneath to look at the speaker, and I said, wait a minute, there's only one wire on there. So I go, where's the other wire? And it must have hit the flywheel or something, and it popped it right off of the speaker. So in the baffle, it has a hole in there, and I had 2 wires coming up from the trucks for the power for the trucks going to the decoder, and they were routed through the hole so it wouldn't hit anything. And so what I did was I took the speaker wires off and made longer wires, and then ran it through the hole and up. Hey, DB Tech. Hey, Dave. Welcome. How you doing? So I got that up there, through there, and got them all backed up, and then lo and behold, sound was good again. So all 3 of them are consistent. They can go back up on the layout. Those 3 trains run the oil tank train that I'm setting up. So so it's going to be fun with that. And then the other engine is on the workbench. Now that engine was configured. It runs good, and it was one of the engines that I took down to Joe Rader's house to help. He helped me isolate the motor that time, and that's the one that I was grinding out the frame to make room to put 2 speakers in it. and that's when I burned out my Dremel tool, grinding that out. I don't know, that was tough metal, that frame. So, and you can't even solder onto that frame. So what I had to do is I drilled 2 holes, and then I put a screw in there, and then I was able to solder the wires to that screw. So, um, so that engine, I wasn't getting sound out of it. It was distorted, muffled. It wasn't clear. So I go, let me open it up. Maybe the speakers came out of the baffle, and that can cause that to happen like that. So I took the shell off, and the speakers were still in the baffle. Then I looked at the speakers. Now these were Soundtracks minis that I took the baffle off of them, and then I 3D printed my own baffles to make them lower. Okay, those no sound coming out of them at all. Very crackling noise type of thing. It was terrible sound. So I got another pair of minis and I soldered them on. Same thing. I hooked up just a single speaker. Same thing. So I'm thinking the amplifier on the uh, decoder went bad for the speakers. So I got to swap out. I have another decoder, same model, and I'm going to swap that out and see if that fixes the problem. So that's the other engine that it's a good thing. Like all my engines been on the tracks all this time, as I'm working on things like that. And the trains, sometimes they run, sometimes they don't. And I might be running them after I test something or whatever. And like when you have 3 trains in a consist, you don't notice if there's no sound in it in one of them or not. Okay. And it was, you don't know. So this was a good exercise in testing all the engines out. And you run into some problems and you find out whatever. So that's what transpired over the last week, getting all the engines up there. And, oh, wow. Now coming back from Canada, Dave. Yeah. And well, rain and bad weather is what happens sometimes. So, the other thing I'm working on is I showed you last week or the week before, I got this flex string that you use to make jewelry and stuff like that, for wrists or on the neck and all that kind of stuff. And it's black. It was 1 millimeter diameter, and I'm putting that. I'm replacing all my power lines, and I'm doing it by towns. And tonight I was trying to. I got one section of the one town done, and I'll show you that. So it I can't get it to stick to the one telephone pole. I just don't get it. I tried putting super glue on it, this and that. Everywhere else it sticks, and sometimes I can just put a little bit on it and then touch it and it sticks. Happens to be an arm's length away, and it's tough to get there and keep your hand steady, keep it on the spot for a couple seconds. And it's in a tough area to. I might have to go behind the layout to get to that one to get started. That's a starting point for running it up around. I'll show you on the video here where I'm doing this. Okay, if we go to this diagram here, the camera's going to focus in. Over on the left here, you can see the power lines. On the mountain, it's hard to see because that's still thread. See, I can see it, but it's gonna be hard to see through here. If I'm pointing to it, you'll see it. So I'm coming up the mountain now, and I start, if I move the camera up. Right here is the power substation. And then there's a telephone pole. This telephone pole right here. Okay. This is the one I'm having trouble getting to put the wire on. See, on the telephone poles, there's 4 wires. There's a wire on the bottom that goes all the way around, and then there's 3 wires across the top. So I put the bottom one on first, and then I work on the top wires after that. So once I get the first one started, it'll stick. Then I can go to the other ones a lot easier and get them on here. So that's this is the first town that I started with. And if we go, I'm gonna move the camera down to the town area. Maybe you'll be able to see the power lines a lot better. And get down to that spot. Then I have to change all the wires to the buildings and the houses too. So I'm going to get to it. There we go. You can get an idea. Like let me just go over a little bit this way. Let that clear up. Okay, so from this telephone pole here, a wire goes down to this pole, and then this pole goes to this building. A wire goes over to this building. There's a wire that goes to this building, and then wires going, a long wire going over to this pole here, which then goes to this building here and over to that building there. The PETG, Dave, are you putting anything on the plate? That's right, Mike. Are you putting anything on the build plate? On my A1 Mini, I use that liquid stuff, and I cover the whole build plate, and then I print. And then best thing to do is let it cool down, Dave. No, just using the build plate as it is. Okay, so try letting it cool down before taking it off. It's a flex plate, right, Dave? On your filament printer, is it? You can lift the plate off of and then flex it. Like any Cubic Viper had a flex plate. The Bamboo Labs do. I'm not sure about the other brands, but most of them probably have the same type of mechanism. The plate on the top is real thin. Yes, a flex plate. Yeah, let it cool a little longer and then take it off and then flex it and see if it snaps off. That's what I do. So, yeah, so that's another project that, and now this will make it look a lot better when you're here. You can see where I changed it, and it looks a lot better than the thread that I put on. So it's going to be a lot more interesting. And then I might even do up on the fifth level, the power transmission lines. I might change that to this type of string. They have thicker ones. So after I get done with all the power lines, then I'll look at that again. Because sometimes I go up there and do some work, and uh, I knock down the tower by hitting the string because I'm underneath it or doing something on top of it or whatever, and so that's what I've been doing with the power lines, and I do a little of them and do something else. Have to wait for the super glue to set tight before I can pull it, and then you can just put your finger on it and it bounces right back up. So you can't do that with the string. It almost bends over the telephone pole. So it's pretty good that way. But yeah, that's what I've been busy doing. And I almost think I'll make myself bigger again. Okay. This is what I was using to paint the tracks and the rails. This is the Tidy track painter and a colored steel rail. Yes, that's right, JD. 3D printing, the hobby within a hobby. It lets you do whatever you need to do. Like the whole subway system was 3D printed. I would have never been able to do that if I didn't have a 3D printer, or it would have cost me a lot of money to do that otherwise. It's not that hard, James. The hardest part of 3D printing is learning your slicer program. Once you figure out the slicer program, and all the printers companies have their own slicer program too. So I used Cure for my Bamboo Labs Viper, and I also had not my Bamboo Labs, my Anycubic Viper, and I also have two Anycubic resin printers. Mine sit and then they get busy. Like right now, concentrating on getting some things done. And once this power line project gets done, I might need to make some more poles, so I'll be 3D printing again. But I'm trying to get the subway system working. And the first level, all the trains are working. The second level, I got a wiring issue up there, and I got to trace that out. But that's the second level. I'm not up to there. But the subway system, I want to get that running, so that'll be running. And then the fifth level is the last level of getting the trains running up there, and all automation. Yeah. Best to start with a filament printer if you're going to start with a 3D printer. And like I said, the slicing programs are hardest because I had the Viper. I had to use Cure because any cubic didn't have a slicing program that would work with the Viper. So that's Photon Workshop. That's the program that any cubic uses for the resin printers. So I have two different size resin printers, and I can just select whichever resin printer I want out of the slicer, and then it makes the build plate the size on the screen. Then you put your models on there and see if they fit on there, and you can print it on there, or you have to go to the bigger plate. So, and in the slicing program, you can move the model, you can rotate the model, you can resize the model, like you download a file off of Thingiverse, and it's O scale, for example, and you're HO scale. So what I do is I just take a person in HO scale, and then I put that on the build plate. Then I put the object on there, and then I shrink it down so that it looks like, for example, vehicles. Vehicles might be 1/64th scale, an STL file, and you want them 1/87th scale. So I just put the person there, and then I need to either make it bigger or a little smaller. And you can resize the file, and then you can print it. And then it'll be the right size. Yeah. Well, that's right. The A1 Mini. Well, the A1 Mini was, I think, 250 or 270, I think it was. And then my A1, I got that with the AMS unit, and that was a package deal, and that was not, no, it wasn't 600. I think it was 500 and change, James. It was close to 600, but not quite 600. The only reason it was 600 is because I got the AMS unit, so I can have 4 different colors of film in there, or I can put all 4 of the same colors in there, and if one runs out, it goes to the other one and starts continuing to print, which it did the other day. I had clear filament in there. It ran out, and it went to the gray filament automatically. Yeah, maybe now it is. Yeah. Well, when I got it, it was a lot cheaper. So back to the slicing program. So then I had 2 of them. I had the Cure and the Photon Workshop, which is for the any cubic printers. So then I got the A1 Mini, or the A1, and now I got Bamboo Labs Studio, which is another slicing program. And then there's a lot of other slicing programs out there. I tried a couple others, and I didn't like the way they did things. So my Bamboo Labs studio, now that I have two Bamboo Lab printers, the A1 and the A1 Mini, it allows me to, if I have a print job, I can send it to both printers at the same time if I want to. I can send a job to the A1. I can send a job to the Mini. This by selecting it, and it goes. And I can monitor both. I can monitor both printers at the same time. And it goes to, print both. And then it can monitor both at the same time. It gives you the status of each one. And then you can view each one, see on the screen, and you can then look at the camera to see the object on the one printer. Then you can go view the other one and see the camera and see that. So I like that software. The Photon Workshop works really well too. And they all have the same features in them. They all can rotate the file, move the file. This is on the build plate of the slicing program. You can move it, rotate it. You can resize it. You can put supports on it. All that kind of stuff. They have those features in all slicing programs. So that's what you have to understand. And that's the learning curve, is the slicing program. Once you get that figured out, then you can go. And the printers, like I have a regular maintenance that I do on my Bamboo Lab printers. I lubricate them every other week. On a Friday, I lubricate it. Again, I get a notification and it tells me, yeah, it's time to lubricate and it's a process I do, simple, and that's what I do to keep them in good shape. The resin printers, there's no maintenance to be done on those guys. All I do is when I finish printing, I take the build plate off and then I spray it with water, because all I'm using now is water-based resin. I'm not using the regular resin anymore. I'm using water-based because that cleans easier with this water. I don't need to buy alcohol, but I have enough alcohol on hand to do other things. And I spray it, and then I wipe it all off, dry it, and the model is taken off and put into water. It soaks in there for a little while. Then that comes out, and I dry that. Once in a great while, I have to cure. Not often that I have to do that. So, but that's what's going on with the printing. I buy anything anymore, I always get an extended warranty. Yeah, that's a good thing, Dwight, to do. So anyway, back to my paint thing. This is Woodland Scenic's Tidy track painter in rust and steel rail. And then you all saw my mini airbrush, and I wanted to start painting the track, but I was going to do certain sections first and then do that. So I took this and drew and painted it on a piece of paper. Then I took raw umber. This is an acrylic paint, raw umber. And then I took burnt umber, and I put lines on that paper for the same thing. And the closest one was the raw umber from the steel rail color. So add a little water to this, put it in the airbrush, and start painting some track and rails and see how it comes out. So, but that's after I get done with subway system, get those trains running, and I'm not gonna paint them rails up there. That'd be a nightmare, and you can't see them anyway. So I could have sprayed them before I put it up, but that was hindsight. So that's not going to happen. So, but that's my week so far. Always busy doing things, and I went out to cut the weeds down. The weeds are getting real high, and I got a fence around my yard, and there's a fence on the other guy's, my neighbor's properties on both sides, and there's weeds coming up in there, and I got to get them all cut down because they don't cut them down. So I'm going to cut them down because they're just too high and getting out of hand. So I told you guys I bought this metal thing to put on my weed whacker, and I put it on, and I ran it, and I wasn't happy with it, but it worked. I was hoping that the strings would have been a lot longer, but they were real short. So I wasn't happy with that. But it came off of the weed whacker, and then I tried to put it back on, and I couldn't get it back on. It just goes in, it has arrows where you're supposed to put the thing in and then twist it. I can't twist the damn thing. I used all my might to twist it, and it doesn't move. So, and I got to get those weeds down. They're getting out of hand. And so I called up my two sons, and they have weed whackers for their houses. And they're going camping this weekend, so I'm going to borrow theirs while they're out camping. And that way I can get the weeds down outside. So I have, it's a Roby weed whacker, and it's the extended model where you can put other attachments on it. You can put a cutter, cutting trees down, all kinds of gadgets to put on. I just weed whack here. I don't have no trees to cut down. I have a big tree in the front yard, but I'm not gonna. I might want to maybe get something to cut the lower limbs down, but maybe another year or so I'll do that. But so I went on Home Depot to look for the replacement for the weed whacker part, and it was out of stock. They didn't have it, so I just put my name in there, and hopefully they'll send me an email when it comes in stock again. Then I'll get it, and then I can start doing the weed whacking myself. So it's just one thing after another and everything. Then I got power wash, finished power washing the house. I got 3 sides done, and then the back of the house got grass on it for me cutting, and I got to power wash that off again. That'll be easy because it was already power washed. And I got the one side to my left here to do that wasn't done yet. So maybe tomorrow. Barbara likes the power wash. Maybe she can do that tomorrow when she wants to stay outside for a while. So see how that goes. So, well, I think Heath is on tonight. Haven't seen him for a while. So if you all want to give some love to Heath, I'm going to call it a night here. Appreciate everybody coming in and saying hello. Hope you all have a good week. You used the cheap Walmart paint to work. Walmart paint to work in the airbrush. No, Dwight, it's not Walmart paint. This paint is from Hobby Lobby. I get this from Hobby Lobby. This is folk art paint. This is and then this is apple barrel paint. Somebody said burnt umber and raw umber are the colors to make rice. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope everybody has a great week. And thanks again for stopping in and spending time with me. And we'll catch you all later on. You have your streams. I'll be there to see you. So everybody have a good night. Take care. And I'm ending the stream now. Take care. Thanks a lot.